What if the parts of you that you've spent your whole life trying to fix were never broken at all? Your sensitivity, your impatience, your stubbornness. We call them weaknesses, flaws, liabilities. We wage a quiet, exhausting war against them, hoping that one day we might finally overcome ourselves and be better. But what if that entire war is based on a profound misunderstanding? The great alchemist of the psyche, Carl Jung, offered a radical perspective. He taught that within our shadow, the disowned parts of ourselves, lies not just our darkness, but our hidden gold. He believed that the very traits we label as our greatest weaknesses are often our most potent strengths in disguise. They are gifts waiting not to be eliminated, but to be unwrapped. In our time together today, we will become psychological alchemists. First, we will challenge the exhausting myth of self-improvement and understand why we are so quick to judge our own nature. Then we will learn to redefine our most difficult traits, unearthing the hidden superpowers they contain. And most importantly, I will guide you through a practical shadow work exercise to begin integrating this reclaimed power, transforming your perceived flaws into your most unique and authentic assets. This is not a journey to fix you. You are not broken. This is an invitation to finally see the genius that has been hiding in your shadows all along. To begin this sacred work of reclamation, make a quiet declaration. Write in the comments below, "My power is in my shadow."
The war against yourself begins with a single word: too. You are too sensitive, too loud, too quiet, too intense, too impatient. This word, often spoken by a well-meaning parent, a frustrated teacher, or a playground bully, becomes a branding iron on the soul of a child. It teaches us a devastating lesson. A core part of my natural wiring is wrong. It is a flaw. It must be controlled. It must be suppressed. It must be hidden. And so begins the lifelong, exhausting project of self-improvement, a project that is not about growth, but about amputation. We spend decades trying to cut away the parts of ourselves that we were told were too much. We build elaborate internal systems of criticism and shame to keep these traits in check. We admire the calm, patient person and despise our own restless urgency. We praise the thick-skinned leader and curse our own tender heart. We are taught to be successful, to be loved. We must sand down our jagged edges until we are smooth, acceptable, and uniform. But here is the truth that Carl Jung's work so powerfully reveals. You cannot amputate a part of your soul without bleeding out your life force. The energy you spend suppressing a core trait is energy that is stolen from your creativity, your joy, and your purpose. This internal war is the hidden reason for so much of our anxiety and exhaustion. It is the feeling of being a house divided against itself. Let's meet Mark. He's 47. A successful project manager at a fast-paced tech company. And he has a secret enemy, an enemy he has been fighting his entire life, his impatience. Since he was a child, he was told he was too hasty. He needed to slow down and be more thoughtful. He has carried this shame into his adult life. He sees his impatience as a professional liability, a character flaw. He sits in long meetings, his leg bouncing under the table, feeling a frantic urge to scream, "Can we please get to the point?" He listens to a colleague endlessly deliberate over a small decision, and a hot wave of frustration washes over him. He spends hours berating himself for these feelings. He tries mindfulness apps. He takes deep breaths. He forces himself to listen patiently. But it feels like holding a beach ball underwater. It takes immense effort, and eventually it always bursts to the surface in a way that feels uncontrolled and explosive. Mark is exhausted, not from his job, but from the constant, vigilant effort of policing his own nature. He believes that if he could just conquer his impatience, he would finally be a good leader, a better person. This is the prison of the perceived flaw. We believe our weakness is a bug in our operating system. But what if it isn't a bug? What if it's a feature? What if it is a core part of our unique genius, a gift that we have simply misunderstood? This is the radical reframe at the heart of Jungian shadow work. The shadow doesn't just hold our repressed anger or sadness. It holds our golden shadow, the powerful positive potentials that we were taught to fear in ourselves. Often a trait we label as a weakness is simply a powerful strength that is either undeveloped, misapplied, or has been wounded and is acting out in its shadow form. The quality itself is not the problem. The problem is our judgment of it. For Mark, the trait he calls impatience is not a flaw. It is raw, untamed energy. It is the energy of a visionary, the energy that sees the end goal with piercing clarity and feels an urgent, passionate drive to get there. It is the energy that cuts through bureaucracy and needless complexity. It is a profound gift for action and efficiency. But because he was taught to see this energy as wrong, he has never learned to work with it. He has only ever fought against it. So instead of being a focused laser, his energy becomes a scattered, anxious wildfire. Instead of being a tool for decisive leadership, it becomes a source of internal frustration. The first step in this alchemical process is to suspend judgment, to approach your most difficult trait not as an enemy to be vanquished, but as a mysterious messenger to be interviewed. To look at your too muchness with curiosity rather than condemnation. What if your sensitivity is not weakness, but a form of high-definition perception? What if your stubbornness is not rigidity, but a wellspring of deep integrity? This shift in perspective is everything. It is the moment you stop fighting the war and begin the excavation. You are not trying to get rid of the lead. You are beginning to realize that for you, the lead itself might just be the path to gold.
Every perceived weakness holds a dual nature. It has a shadow side and it has a light side. When a trait is disowned and pushed into the shadow, it tends to express itself in its wounded, reactive, and least effective form. Our work is not to get rid of the trait, but to help it mature, to coax it out of the shadow and into the light, where its true gift can be revealed. Let's perform this alchemy together on 3 of the most common flaws that haunt so many of us. The first is anxiety. In its shadow form, anxiety is a thief. It is a storm of what-ifs that paralyzes you. It steals your present moment and sells it for a future catastrophe that may never happen. It feels like a torment, a constant state of internal alarm. We spend so much energy trying to numb it, to rationalize it, to make it go away. But what if anxiety isn't the enemy? What if it is a superpower in disguise? Let's meet Chloe.
She's a 36-year-old HR manager, and she has lived with anxiety her whole life. She worries about everything: layoffs, employee conflicts, the budget for the company picnic. She sees it as her greatest weakness. But let's look through the Jungian lens. The gift hidden within anxiety is foresight. It is the profound and rare ability to see the future. Not in a psychic sense, but in a strategic one. The anxious mind is a master of simulation. It can run 1,000 possible future scenarios in a minute, identifying potential problems, pitfalls, and dangers before anyone else even sees them. When this gift is in the shadow, it feels like uncontrollable worry. But when Chloe begins to honor it, to work with it, she can transform it. Instead of just worrying, she can ask, what is this anxiety showing me? What potential problem is it trying to solve? Suddenly, her anxiety is not a feeling to be suppressed. It is data to be analyzed. She starts using her foresight to create better contingency plans, to anticipate employee needs, to build a more resilient company culture. Her anxiety becomes her strategic intuition. She hasn't eliminated the feeling, she has integrated its power. The second common flaw is being too sensitive. In its shadow form, sensitivity feels like a curse. It feels like walking through the world with no skin. You absorb everyone's moods. A harsh word can ruin your day. Violent movies are unbearable. You feel things so deeply that it's overwhelming. You're told to toughen up, so you build walls to protect yourself, which only leads to isolation. But what if being too sensitive is not a flaw? What if it is a finely tuned instrument? The gift hidden within sensitivity is empathy. It is the ability to resonate with the emotional truth of another person, to understand what is not being said. This is an extraordinary gift in a world that is starving for genuine connection. When this gift is in the shadow, you drown in the emotions of others. But when you learn to see it as a strength, you can learn to manage it. You can practice creating energetic boundaries. You can learn to distinguish between what is mine and what is theirs. A nurse who is too sensitive doesn't have to burn out. She can use her gift to sense a patient's unspoken fear, offering a word of comfort that changes everything. A leader who is too sensitive isn't weak. He can use his gift to understand the morale of his team, to build trust, and to create a workplace where people feel truly seen. Your sensitivity becomes your empathic connection. And this brings us to the third flaw, stubbornness. In its shadow form, stubbornness is a wall. It is rigidity, an unwillingness to listen. It closes you off to new ideas and can damage relationships. It feels like a blind, mule-headed resistance. But let's look deeper. What is the positive intention behind that resistance? The gift hidden within stubbornness is conviction. It is the unwavering loyalty to a core value or a deep truth. A stubborn person is not easily swayed by popular opinion or external pressure. There is a deep, unshakable core of integrity within them. When this gift is in the shadow, it manifests as my way or the highway. But when you bring it into the light, you can learn to pair it with curiosity. You can hold fast to your core values while also being open to different strategies for honoring them. The activist who is called stubborn is the one who doesn't give up the fight for justice when everyone else has gone home. The artist who is called stubborn is the one who protects her unique vision from being diluted by commercial demands. Your stubbornness becomes your unshakable integrity. So, how do we begin this work for ourselves? It starts with a simple yet profound shadow work exercise. I call it the relabeling. Take out your journal. On the left side of the page, write down the flaw you've always been told you have, the label that has caused you shame. Impatient, too sensitive, stubborn, disorganized. Now, on the right side of the page, after a moment of deep, compassionate reflection, I want you to give it a new name. A name that honors its hidden gift, its superpower. Impatient becomes driven by clarity. Too sensitive becomes deeply attuned. Stubborn becomes fiercely loyal to my truth. Disorganized becomes fluent in creative chaos. This is not just a word game. You are performing an act of semantic magic. You are changing the story you tell yourself about yourself. And when you change the story, you change the energy. You stop feeding the flaw with shame, and you start nourishing the strength with acceptance. This is the heart of integration. This is the shadow's true gift. To relabel your flaw is to change its name. To integrate its power is to change the game. This final step in our alchemical work is about moving from passive acceptance to active cultivation. It's about learning to consciously wield the very energy you once tried to suppress. This is not about letting your shadow run wild. It is about becoming the wise steward of your own powerful nature. You are taking the raw, chaotic energy of the shadow and giving it a purpose, a direction, a sacred job. Let's return to our friends and see how this integration transforms their lives. Remember Mark, the project manager at war with his impatience? He has relabeled it, driven by clarity. Now, instead of fighting the feeling, he listens to it. When that familiar, restless energy rises in a meeting, he no longer shames himself. He sees it as a signal, a flag. His inner visionary is telling him, we are losing focus. We are drifting from the goal. So he learns to channel this energy constructively. He doesn't interrupt impatiently. Instead, he asks a clarifying question. A question that gently but firmly steers the conversation back to its core purpose. He might say, "This is a fascinating discussion. To ensure we make the most of our time, can we briefly restate the primary goal we're trying to achieve here?" Do you see the magic in this? He is using the exact same energy, the same drive for efficiency, but now it is guided by consciousness. It is no longer a reactive frustration. It is a tool for focused leadership. His colleagues don't experience him as impatient. They experience him as sharp, decisive, and respectful of their time. He has turned his greatest perceived weakness into his signature strength. Now let's consider Chloe, the HR manager with strategic intuition, formerly known as anxiety. She used to be paralyzed by her constant worrying. Now she has given her foresight a job. She creates a dedicated time in her week, a strategic foresight session. For 30 minutes, she gives her anxious mind full permission to do what it does best, scan the horizon for icebergs. She writes down every potential problem it presents. But then comes the crucial step of integration.
She does not stay in the worry. For each potential problem, she asks her wise, conscious self, what is one small proactive step we can take to mitigate this risk? Her anxiety about layoffs becomes a proposal for a new employee upskilling program. Her worry about team conflict becomes a workshop on compassionate communication. She is no longer a victim of her anxiety. She is its partner. She has transformed the chaotic energy of worry into the ordered intelligence of preparedness. Her company sees her not as an anxious person, but as an invaluable, forward-thinking strategist. And what about the too sensitive nurse, the one who relabeled her flaw as empathic connection? She used to burn out from absorbing the pain of her patients. Now she practices a simple visualization before every shift. She imagines a beautiful bubble of golden light surrounding her. She sets an intention, I will feel with my patients, but I will not take on what is not mine to carry. My job is to be a clear channel of compassion, not a sponge for pain. This small act of energetic boundary setting changes everything. She can now walk into a difficult room, feel the fear and sadness present, and instead of being overwhelmed by it, she can use her gift. She can offer a knowing touch, a quiet word of understanding that goes straight to the patient's heart, because her instrument is so finely tuned. Her sensitivity is no longer a liability that drains her. It is a sacred tool that allows her to heal on a level others cannot. This is the art of integration. It is a three-step dance. First, you notice the shadow energy rising, the impatience, the anxiety, the wave of emotion. You do not judge it. You do not suppress it. You simply acknowledge it. Ah, there you are. Second, you honor its hidden gift. You recall its new name. This is not impatience. This is my drive for clarity. This is not anxiety. This is my strategic foresight at work. This is not oversensitivity. This is my capacity for deep connection. And third, you ask the crucial question, how can I consciously use this energy right now to serve my highest good and the good of others? This is the work of a lifetime. It is not easy. It requires presence. It requires courage. But it is the path to a life of profound wholeness and power. Because true strength is not the absence of difficult emotions or challenging traits. True strength is the ability to hold all parts of yourself with compassion and to consciously choose how you will channel their formidable energy. You stop trying to be a smaller, neater, more acceptable version of yourself. You start embracing the magnificent, complex, and powerful reality of who you are. Your flaws, when integrated, do not just become strengths. They become your genius. They become the unique signature you leave on the world.
Today, we have stood as alchemists before the forge of our own soul. We began by honoring the exhausting, lifelong war we wage against our perceived flaws, the parts of us we were told were too much. We saw how this internal battle, this project of self-amputation, is the hidden source of so much of our depletion. We then embarked on a radical act of relabeling. Through the profound lens of Carl Jung's shadow work, we learned to see our most challenging traits not as liabilities, but as powerful strengths in disguise. Anxiety became strategic intuition. Sensitivity became empathic connection. Stubbornness became unshakable integrity. And most importantly, we learned the sacred art of integration. We discovered a 3-step dance to consciously channel these powerful energies, transforming them from reactive frustrations into the signature tools of our unique genius. The greatest gift of the shadow is this revelation. You were never broken. You were simply a powerhouse who was taught to fear your own electricity. The work is not to diminish your power, but to learn how to direct it. It is to see that your intensity is your passion, your restlessness is your vision, your tender heart is your greatest bridge to humanity. To embrace your shadow's gifts is to finally stop apologizing for the space you take up in the world. It is to stand in the full, complex, and magnificent truth of who you are. This is the path to a power that is not aggressive, but authentic. A strength that is not brittle, but resilient. A confidence that is not loud, but quiet and deep, rooted in the rich soil of self-acceptance. But as you begin to own this newfound power, as you start to show up in the world with more clarity, more integrity, and stronger boundaries, a new dynamic will inevitably emerge. Your relationships will be tested. The old dances you used to do with your partner, your friends, your family, they will start to change because you are changing. How does this integrated shadow self show up in your closest connections? How might your unclaimed power be subconsciously sabotaging the very intimacy you crave? And how do we navigate this delicate, essential territory without pushing everyone away? That is the crucial ground we will cover in our next conversation as we ask the question, is your shadow sabotaging your relationships? For now, your invitation is to anchor the alchemy you have performed today, to make this new story about yourself real. In the comments below, I invite you to complete the sacred act of relabeling. Share with this community the one flaw you are choosing to see differently and the new, powerful name you have given it. For example, my anxiety is my strategic intuition, or my stubbornness is my fierce integrity. By declaring it here, you are not just typing words. You are planting a seed of self-reclamation. And you are giving others permission to see the gold within themselves. Thank you for your courage to be whole. Your genius is waiting.